Good morning, sir. How can we meet you, please? What's your name, sir?
My name is Mr.Dami Bamiro. I'm the IT consultant for Jamb, and essentially I work directly with the registrar on IT issues.
Okay, and so far we can see that you have been the one on ground supervising the conduct of the examination. Now, what are those key achievements in Jamb that we can say has been a focal point since the 2026 inception of Professor Oloyede till date?
Okay, so when I have what I call memory of 10 years now, and I think when you look at how we've come, one of the key areas is I'm now able to look at things in silos. So if we look at the area of accreditation, we met about 334 centers in Jamb, and even those 334 centers, Jamb used to conduct exam in 2 diets. Staff would go out, conduct 1 set of exams, go back again, come back again for another set, and but from 334 centers, we started accrediting more centers. And one of the key things we did was to standardize in most areas. 80% of the locations, we standardized on 250 computers per center, and then 25 backup. That was never there. From 2016, 2017, 2018 up to 2020, we started ramping up to 600. In short, we doubled the capacity in the country in less than 4 years.
I'm sorry, sir, how were you able to do that? Did you face any challenge? Did we get any help from public-private partners? Did the government come in?
Now, I think the approach to CBT was, when we came in, that was the time it was full CBT. People didn't believe there would be full CBT. So the thought was, okay, are they going to do it? Are they not going to do it? And all that. So there wasn't that communication to the private sector that we're here, we're doing it. But immediately that was clear. A lot of people thought, you know what, I want to do this, I want to get into this business, I want to own a center, and then there was the massive investment by the private sector. Then there was also the awareness. Governors, all of them, how can you not have a center in your own town? Then we'll meet them and say, you've only done 1 town, what about this other, what about this one? And today, what people don't know, because I get questions of, oh, why are there no centers in this place and all that? It's a collective effort. You have to talk to government, you have to talk to private sector. We now have businessmen who are now establishing centers in their own locality, because now they don't want their children to travel far. So this age-old thing about, oh, children are traveling far, is because Jamb has approached a lot of private sector businessmen and said to them, why don't you have a center here? Governors, why don't you have a center in your major cities? Why don't you have 2? Now, so we look like Oliver Twist asking for more, but it's a good strategy to now expand. And what have we achieved today? From 2016 now, fast forward to 2026, of meeting 334 centers thereabouts, we now have 1,029 centers. And I think this is the largest network of computers probably in the world connected together. Again, we have what you call so many uncelebrated that Nigeria doesn't know that it has, and it has really brightened the what I call the horizon. What do I mean? Today, now that we have 1,029 available centers, for this exam this year, we only used effectively about 997 of them. We also have a strategy to keep some as reserve centers in case there are problems. But now we have so much more. There's no local government in the country we cannot say we don't have. Now people's cries is that we're going too far. Going too far sometimes is just a few kilometers, but they feel it's too far. Before, it was day of travel and all of that. So we've done well when it comes to bringing everybody on board, and by the way, it also came at a cost. we will not lower our standards. So centers that do not adhere to the standards are cut off. I think in the last 2-3 years, we've delisted more than 109 centers. Again, that doesn't mean that there will be not more investment. It just means that people investing in that sector were more serious about this national service. And, then comes now the opportunity. WAEC can now do CBT, NECO can now do CBT, government can now do entrance exam, which we've achieved in the sector. Now we can do exams for the police, we can do promotion exams nationwide, we can do all these things that were not available before. So we've achieved great strides in our accreditation of centers. Of course, when we accredit any center, comes now that we will not use them as registration centers for the exam. Again, I think this year, I don't think we saw in the news where they will see a long queue at any center and say, hey, the Jamb, this queue is too long at this center. With more centers comes less per person or per square meter number of students. So that also is coming down. There are now more centers, and that means that we have more spread and candidates don't have to go far.
But have we increased in the number of registered candidates this year as compared to last year's?
Maybe it was a part, I don't know, is it a parting present or should I say an ultimate present? This year, 2026, we have a lot of firsts. Again, another first apart from accrediting the highest number of centers in the country, probably in Africa, is that we have the highest number of registrations. And if I show you on the board behind me, we registered 2,243,245 candidates, largest registration possibly in Africa. I'm not sure of any examination body that will have that kind. This is more than the population of some countries, So, and we registered all these people in 5 weeks. So what we're saying technically is we were capable of doing about 600,000, 500,000 registrations a week, So, and by the 4th week, we are done the bulk of this. Again, if 500,000 people are registering in so many centers, what that meant is that the registration went smoothly because there were no real hiccups and all that. Technology is now stable, and yes, we have dependencies like the telcos and all of that for transmission of these registrations. But even they, I would say that they have improved their game, they've upped their game, and they've done more even this year. So, in terms of the registration, these are record year number of registrations, and we are hoping the board can now do more in future.
Okay. What about speaking about examination so far?
Yes.
Have we also improved in the area of examination? This 2026 examination, did we also, based on the expected number of candidates as you've shown us on the dashboard, in the 2026 examination, have we also had an increase in the number of candidates that have sat the examination compared to other years?
Compared to other years, we have. And again, it's a no-brainer. Once you have more centers, it means you have more reach. It now means you can do more candidates. What's special about this year is that in the first 1, 2, 3 days, we are nothing about 600 to 650,000 students a day. Again, that's another massive. In some countries, the total number of students that will be apply to the higher education sector may not be even up to 400,000, which means you can do all the exams in one day. So we were nothing about 650. In fact, there was a time, the first day, we did 650,000 students, and we did all the exams and processed their results same day, and that was evident from. So even our result processing mechanism that has been upgraded, and from learnings from last year, we have made so many changes that has allowed us to, the throughput is now very, very good.
Okay. So now I'm sorry, sir. With the this shows that technology-wise, Jamb has grown.
Yes.
But then technology-wise, so also have the malpractice rates been? How has it been? How has the board been able to fight malpractice?
Now, from 2016 to about 2022, I would say that we were losing the battle. We were losing the battle because we were focused on the technology and implementing the technology and stabilizing the software systems. The focus was not on the externals of the system. But the moment we had stabilized our technology, we now started looking at malpractice. So around 2021, 2022, we were still having malpractice in the thousands. Detection was there, and detection was good, so we could catch a lot of cases. But then our job or our mandate was not to catch, it's to prevent. And preventing malpractice now went into mass education, it went into studying where malpractice begins. And one emphatic thing we found was that 90% of malpractice starts from registration, not inside the exam hall. Sometimes if you go into an exam hall and stand there and think that is where you are going to detect malpractice, you have failed. Because some malpractice will go so undetected that you think all is well, but malpractice is going on. So we now addressed malpractice from the roots, and we saw that majority was, let me tell you, give you a case. In 2026, we announced that every existing candidate who had an existing admission should declare that admission before registering for 2026 and cancel that previous admission before the next admission, not at registration stage. People thought, what's the problem? Not knowing that we had evidence that students in universities were registering for Jamb for the fun of it, so that they could sit down beside another candidate and tutor that candidate for a huge amount of money. So the Jamb registration was just to sit beside a student of no use. They still wanted to continue their education normally, and Jamb now became a business exploit for malpractice. So when you now begin to address those problems, sometimes the public doesn't see that this is where Jamb is doing and this is what it is addressing. But then, look at this here. So far, we've recorded less than 50 malpractice in this examination so far. The lowest we have ever done before. But that does not mean that we should now lower our radar or lower our detection systems and all of that. It just means that what we have detected so far is less than 50. But we will not stop, because if you lay down for one day, you will find out that you have let go. So our detection systems have to keep on high alert, because we don't want to assume that we're winning. Malpractice is not something that you think everybody's just going to change. So long as there's money in malpractice, and so long as it's funded, usually, sadly, by parents of, who pay on behalf of these candidates, people will always be innovating. But for now, for 2026, I say yes, we're winning, because the rates of malpractice is very, very low this year.
Okay.
Yes.
So what about admission?
Now, another first is that last year we had about 1.9 million applicants. But as you know, not everybody that does the exam is qualified to gain admission. When we looked at the figures, we had about 1.3 million that had maths, English, 5 credits, and were above the national tolerable minimum score, which was 140. We had a 1.3 million. Again, another first is we were able to admit over 1 million of these students. Bearing in mind that just in 2023, we were admitting only 663,000 students in a year. In 2024, we achieved huge milestones of about 880,000 students. Come 2025 admission, we've achieved over 1 million. And we are hoping that 2026 that we're doing now, we will go even more than that. Again, those are numbers that you don't play with as a country. Yeah. Where 1.3 million qualified students have taken exams out of 2 million thereabout students, and you're able to take 1 million of them. the argument that the university system cannot take, or the educational system cannot take these candidates, that argument is now being lost. Because once they are qualified and everybody is going through the front door, no backdoor admissions and all of that, we would now see that these numbers are becoming real. Again, real meaning now that 1 million students are going into university, the outputs are now more. As a country, we now need to begin to look at, okay, more people, more jobs, and all of those things, so the country prepares now with accurate data and statistics. So we're seeing records in various areas, and it's important to let Nigeria know that these records are here, because when you see an increase, it also increases your preparation. Now, NYSC needs to take note. There are more students coming, and your number of intakes, valid intakes now, is now going to be this amount. Are you ready for it and all that? And I think once you're adequately prepared, because there's information, you can succeed in what you're doing.
So what do you think is the key attribute for the increase in candidates wanting to sit the examination and go to school? Is there anything that is motivating them now?
Yes, I think the one I can think of, because when you look at some of these sharp increases since 2023, the immediate one I can attribute it to is NEL Fund.
Okay.
I think if you look at the delta, which is the number of increase, and you look at what NEL Fund is doing today. Today, if I'm not wrong, NEL Fund is providing funds for about 1.3 million students today, and there are 1.7 million applicants. So the delta of what they're even dealing with is only about 400,000, which is good, and it's going down every day. Again, if you now have 1 million students who have been admitted in this year, it also is a signal to NEL Fund that they can do more. But government is also enabling them to do more. And with the technology integrations they have with Jamb, it has allowed them to adequately prepare. Now, covering 1.3 million students is no small feat. I mean, NEL Fund is technically a bank, if you look at it, because you have to look at the account of everybody, make sure you identify all your customers, which are the students, make sure you are paying them on time, make sure they are receiving their stipends on time, the institutions are getting the money on time, and all of that. That is a massive operation that can only be successful with technology. And because of their technology integrations with Jamb and partnership with Jamb, this is also going smoothly. So there's opportunity for more. And I think once students are getting that message, which I think they've gotten, is that look, my mother is poor, this is the person, and that's why I can't go to school. One uncle didn't want to sponsor me, all of that. That has been erased now. And I think with that, people are getting bolder to say, look, if I can borrow this money, no problem. I will return it. I can be self-sufficient. And that, I think, in my own opinion, is responsible for the higher numbers that are now applying, to the university system. Again, why I'm saying that is also because if we admitted 1 million students in 2025, the number that should apply in 2026 should have dropped, but it's going up. Again, it means now, so if we admit 1.5 million students, more will apply. So it's beginning to make sense that why are they applying? It means they are now getting more confident that they can go to school, that they can pass, there's technology. And honestly speaking, the technology support to students now during school now is wide. In those days, students only could depend on libraries. You have to queue sometimes in the library, borrow book, do all of that, and that was a dependency. But today, technology aids your learning so much that your university experience is actually very, very good. So it's all about capacity now. Can Nigeria expand its capacity to take more and educate more? And as you educate more, the outputs, and can they, the matters of job and all of that, it's a chicken and egg. Which one do you deal with first? Do you make sure that there are more graduates so that you can give them jobs, or do you create the jobs and hope there are more graduates? I think what's going is logical. Let's increase the capacity, let people be confident they can get educated, and then we worry about the next level. Okay.
So speaking about technology and then the role of Jamb in admission process, how have we been able to tackle the issue of fake admission?
Now, anything fake, and anything that looks like it has dubious means, is because the people are hoping for a dubious end. And it's because some people felt that, oh, in those days, you could fake this document and get in and then go. But today, I can say that we have enough technology and we have exercised enough technology to detect fake documents. Again, one of the strategies of Jamb that really addressed fake documents was Jamb insisting that institutions no longer collect paper. Once you make your admission process paperless, what do you mean? The results of Jamb are transmitted to the school. The scores, the basis for the admission is transmitted to the school. Fake documents with fake pictures, we now give the pictures to the school. Fingerprints of the candidates, we now pass it to each institution in the country today. So all you have to do is show up as yourself to the institution for your admission process. In those days, people go and manufacture papers and show up at the university and pretend like it was. And what that did was that it was only when the schools now finally came to Jamb that they'll be detecting discrepancies, and this was a long process. And before sometimes you detect some of these things, the student has graduated and gone. But now the cycle is much shorter. Now some people know that if you produce a fake document into the system, within a day we can know. Look at what we do in registration with direct entry. Once you present a document, if it's not IJMB or JUPEB or any of these institutions, we pass the document to the school within an hour, and the school is notified that you have to verify this certificate. And if the school verifies the certificate on the same platform, it comes back to us immediately. Once they say yes, your application continues and you can register. Once they say no, your application stops instantly. So now that they know that schools are verifying documents, this is the propensity to say you want to bring a fake document. This has gone down, now. With JUPEB and IJMB, massive gains. Now, every one of those institutions preloads their results into our system before registration starts. So once a candidate is coming and saying, candidate so, the system has gone to get his results and shown. And then you just compare what JUPEB or IJMB says is their result with what this candidate is holding in his hand. If there is a discrepancy, you know at the point of registration instantly. So when they know that, look, they're checking all these things, the rate at which some people want to fake documents now has gone down, terribly. And because we've given power back to the organizations in terms of their documents. Here, take institution, take your document, verify it. It's your responsibility. Is it your document or not? Now, they are now seeing that they now are stakeholders in the verification process. So, Jamb has widened that, which no other institution has been able to do. And so that has also given a lot of what we call confidence that to some of these students who say that, oh, I did this program in this, I don't know whether it's acceptable, I don't know whether I can use it. But he comes to Jamb, he wants to apply for a program, they accept it, they verify it, and say, oh, it's verified, oh. Then everybody now knows that, oh, this is acceptable, it will be verified, you can use it, and all that. What goes round, and these institutions are better for it. By the way, Jamb also sanctions institutions that do not quickly respond on their own certificates. How are you an institution that issues a course, a diploma, or whatever certificate, and then when it's time to verify your own certificate, you are wasting time and delaying the candidate who has come to patronize your institution and gotten a certificate from you? So we penalize them. Because of that penalization, the students feel confident that if I have this certificate and I present it for any application, my school will quickly verify it and I'm fine for it. So those are massive gains, massive improvements that have in the shadows created confidence with a lot of students who say, oh, I can now attend this diploma, I can now do this course, I can do that course, and they now have a path to where they're going with it, and they're confident, So that has also been a first, and we've been able to achieve that as a board. So massive gains, massive improvements all over, we don't celebrate it too much, but it's good to sometimes talk about it, because lots of massive achievements are happening in Jamb that is affecting the country, you know, that are not being talked about, you know, from the registration, the integration of our network. I mean, I can't talk too much about our backbone network, but these are massive, massive deployments. From our exam monitoring, for example, some people are so shocked. When the minister was here the last time, he went into one of our monitoring rooms and he could log into any center of choice and watch a video of the exam happening. You know, these are not things we talk about, but you know, you can watch live any center of the 1,000 centers or more in this country during exams. You can watch them live. You know, these are massive achievements that, you know, don't happen even with any other examination body, you know, and Jamb has been able to achieve that.
So allow me to say kudos to the technical team, and also kudos to the Professor Ishaq Olaraju led management and staff of Jamb. From what you've said so far, the 2026 UTME is really a success.
Yes, yes.
So moving forward, what is your take on Jamb, on the future of Jamb?
Now, like everybody, the Professor Loyede team will terminate this year, which means somebody else will need to take over the realms. I know it's at the top of mind of everybody, whoever, because Jamb has become a technology company. It's no longer a government agency. It's a high-stakes technology company. Technology driving everything it does, and so the worry has been the mountain, you know, and all that. But I believe strongly that government will take the right decisions. I believe strongly that government, and especially the minister, appreciates where Jamb is and the pivotal position it holds. So I believe the right decisions will be taken. But in my own, if I were to say, has Jamb reached the limit of the peak, I'll say, no way, we're just starting, you know. But it depends on how you see it. I, as a technology person, being able to offer my skills and services in Jamb for the last 10 years, it's super exciting. This is what I call technology heaven, you know, because every type of technology that exists has been tried or implemented in one way or the other. So, and technology is always moving. So as it moves, the next management will also move with it and respond to a lot of the challenges that, you know, are abound. And then, you know, so it's a journey, you know, and I think it will be a good journey for Jamb. Thank you.
It's a pleasure speaking with you, Mr. Dami.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.